Jai Hind. The topic which we are going to discuss today is security in cloud, and this particular topic, it comes under unit 5. These are the contents which we are going to discuss today. Introduction, cloud security, then who is the attacker, security issues from the virtualization perspective, streamlined security analysis process, application security, and then possible solutions. So when we talk about the definition, then the protection of information and its elements, including system, hardware that use, store and transmit the information, it is your security. That is, with the help of security, what you are doing, you are saving, you are protecting the information or your the elements with the help of which you are processing that information, basically from the misuse by the outsiders. So what is the primary goal when we talk about the security? The primary goals, they come under the category confidentiality, integrity and availability. Sometimes it is also known by the name CIA triangle, which is also known as security triad, which explain or which depict the primary goal of information security. So we are having on one end confidentiality, integrity and then availability. So what the confidentiality it says? It says that only those users who are authorized to use that or see that information, they are able to see the information, and no one else which is not authorized can see the information. What's the integrity says? It says that whatever information has been generated, it has not been changed from its original. Availability, that is, the information is available whenever you need it. So according to this, on one end we are having the confidentiality part. Here we are having on one end we are having confidentiality. Then at the other end we are having integrity and then availability. So confidentiality, it says authorized to know, that is whoever is authorized, they can only, or you can say whoever is having the login and password or other biometric authentication facility, they can access the information. Integrity, it says data has not been tampered with, that is your data, it is flowing over the internet, it has not been tampered by any person. Availability, that the data has never been lost or machine never fails, that is your servers. So what does a cloud security says? It says the security concerns arising because both customer data and program, they are residing at the provider premise, that is your customer, your data, your, if we are talking about the SaaS applications, SaaS based applications in cloud, then the customer data is with the CSP. Similarly, if we are talking about the PaaS and whatever programs we are generating or we are developing, again the majority part is with the CSP. So security is always a major concern in open system architecture. So what are we having at the provider premise? We are having customer data, customer code, and here is the customer. All these are under the control of the provider by the under the control of CSP. So if strict or stringent security rules has not been applied by the service provider, then there may be the chances that data or the code got harmed by the or got misused by the hackers or attackers. So security in clouds, when we say, it is a set of control based technologies and policies which are adapted to stick regulatory compliances, rules and protect data application and technology infrastructure. Because cloud nature of sharing resources, cloud security is particular concern to identity management, privacy and access control. So the data in the cloud should have to be stored in an encrypted form. because we have to manage all these things. Again, they are over the cloud. You are passing the parameters related to your authorization over the cloud, then privacy and access control, all these features. So everything need to be in the encrypted form. With the increase in the number of organizations which are using the cloud technology basically for the data operation, proper security and potentially vulnerable areas become a priority for organization when they are trying to use those services with the help of CSP. Why cloud computing brings new threat? The cloud security problems, from where they are coming? The number one part is loss of control. The users, they don't have the control over the data, over the code, because all these things they are residing with on other on the CSP premise. Lack of trust, this is another particular factor. Then multi-tenancy, because multiple users they are working or they are availing IaaS, PaaS or SaaS facilities over the same environment, in the same environment. Multi-tenancy concept is there. So there may be the chances, for example, if out of 100 users or 100 persons who are using the virtual machines over the cloud, one of the virtual machine becomes malicious, then in that case there may be the high chances that particular machine attack other virtual machines which are connected together on the same platform over the cloud. These problems, they exist mainly. Why they are existing? Because here we are having the third party management, that is your CSP. So self-managed cloud still have security issues but are not related to above. Consumers, loss of control. Why we are having this loss of control, which we have seen here, that is loss of control. Let's elaborate this point. Data applications, resources, they are located with the provider. Then user identity management, again it is handled over the cloud. User access controls, rules, security policies and other enforcement or other standards which are being enforced in the cloud environment, again they are managed by the cloud provider. That is, they are at the will of the cloud provider. If you want strict security features, then there may be the chances the cloud provider won't provide them because it has to set the rules and policies according to the compliance which it needs to follow to provide those cloud services. Then consumer relies on provider to ensure. Consumers, they are dependent on the provider to ensure data security and privacy. Resource availability, that is the resources which he or she is entitled to use over the cloud, is available all the time. Monitoring and the repairing services of the resources, because once you have deployed the resource or used the resource, again the monitoring part and the maintenance part is again with the service provider. Multi-tenancy concept, it says, as we have seen earlier also, multiple independent users, they share the same physical infrastructure. So an attacker, it can impose as a legitimate user in the same physical machine as the target. So who is the attacker? Insider. If I say, okay, insider, then it could be malicious employees at the client, malicious employees at the cloud provider level also, or the cloud provider itself. So they can pose a threat to the organization. When we talk about the outsider, then it can be intruders or it could be network attackers. Attacker capability, that is malicious insiders at the client. They are your malicious users, they can learn the passwords, they can authenticate the learn the authentication information and gain the control of the VMs and can use the information residing on those virtual machine. At the cloud provider, what kind of information they can gain? Log client communication related information, session related information. They can gain information related to those things and can again hack the virtual machine. When we talk about the attacker capability at the cloud provider, then what can be done? What kind of attacks can be performed? It can read the unencrypted data, can possibly peek into the virtual machines or make the copies of the virtual machines. It can monitor the network communication, application patterns, etc. That is intrusion detection. It can detect the pattern which is present in your network communication. It may be your flow information, it could be a packet information, and can deduce very good knowledge or information from those particular fields. When the outsider, they attack your system, then what kind of information or what kind of attack could be performed? They can listen to the network traffic, that is a passive attack. That is, they can gain the access to the information which is flowing over the network by analyzing the network traffic pattern. Insert malicious traffic, that is your active. They can insert their traffic which can go along with the authenticated network traffic. Then probe cloud structure, again it is a active attack, or they could launch the DOS attacks. Now, what are the challenges for the attacker in the case of cloud computing? How to find where the target is located, because in this case what we are using, we are deploying the virtual machines over the cloud. Or how to be co-locate with the target in the same or physical machine, how to gather the information about the target. So these are the few challenges for the attacker in a cloud computing environment. So a security planning is required in the cloud. Before using cloud technology, the user should need to analyze several aspects. That is, before going to a vendor and saying, okay, I want to use your services, you first analyze certain things. What are these? What are those? Analyze the sensitivity to the risk of the user resources. Then the cloud service models require the customer to be responsible for security at various levels of services, understand the data storage and transfer mechanism provided by the CSP, consider proper cloud type to be used. So these are the few things which a user should do R&D before going for the services over the using services over the cloud. System issues, security issues from the virtualization perspective. As we have seen that virtualization, providers they provide is using para virtualization or the full system virtualization. So instance isolation is required, which says ensure that different instances running on the same physical machine, they are isolated from each other. So a control of administrator on host operating system and the guest operating system is there. Current VMs, they do not offer perfect isolation, because if we need that from the security point of view, that the host OS, it doesn't launch attack on guest, or they both the things they are hidden from each other, then the isolation is required. But in the current virtual machines which are existing, they don't offer perfect isolation. Many bugs have been found in all popular virtual machine monitors that allow to escape from virtual machine. So virtual machine monitors should be root secure, meaning that no level of privilege within the virtualized guest environment, it permit interference with the host system. That is, whatever the things user is carrying over the guest environment, it should not interact or interfere the host system. Otherwise, what will happen? The malicious user who is sitting over the guest environment, it may attack the host system. So the virtual machine monitor should be having the suffice security policies inbuilt in it to avoid such kind of things. Streamlined security analysis process. In this, we are having identify assets, that is which assets are we trying to protect. It is very important. For example, if we can break down our data into two categories, one is corresponding to the confidential, that is a sensitive, carrying the sensitive information related to organization, and another carrying the general information of the company or organization, then in that case we can divide the data into two parts. One part that is having the sensitive information related to organization or its client, it can reside within the organization, whereas the other things it can be done, it can be carried over the cloud. So it is very important to identify what assets we are trying to protect. What properties of these assets must be maintained, that is whether we have identified the assets, but now we have to identify the properties, that what kind of features we should protect from the attacker. Next is your identify threats, that is what kind of attack can be mounted. That is if my data is flowing continuously over the internet, then I have to be very vigilant that no MITM attack or DOS attack, it might happen, it must happen on the system. So next is what other threats are there possibility, for example your natural disasters, etc. So first we have to identify assets, then we have to identify threats. After that we have to identify the countermeasures, that is what we can do if attack happen on the system, that is how can we counter those attacks. After that, appropriate for the organization independent analysis, because requirement of one organization is totally different from another organization. So the CSPs, they must do analysis according to the requirement or the need of a particular organization. So we have no organizational context or policies. This is a drawback in this case. Identify assets and principles. How what kind of assets we are having? We are having customer data, we are having customer applications, and we are having the client computing devices. So when we talk about the customer data, then what we need to protect, we need to go for confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Similarly, when we say customer application, then again CIA triad needs to be maintained. When we talking about the client computing devices, again we need to maintain the CIA triad. Identify threats. How we come to know that certain threat or attack has been occurred on the system. Failures in the provider security, attack by other customers, availability and reliability issues, legal and regulatory issues, perimeter security model broken, integrating provider and customer security systems. Failures in provider security, it says provider control servers, network, etc. So customer must trust provider security. Failures may violate CIA principles. What are the countermeasures? Verify and monitor providers security. No outside verification may suffice in this case, but for the SMB, provider security may exceed the customer security policy. Attacks by other customers, then in that case what are the threats? Provider resources shared with untrusted parties, CPU storage, network, all these things they can be attacked. Customer data and applications, they must be separated. Failures will violate the CIA principles. What are the countermeasures? Hypervisors for compute separation, MPLs, VPNs, VLANs or firewalls, they can be used. Cryptography should be very strong, and application layer separation must also be deployed. Legal and regulatory issues. Threats are laws and regulations may prevent cloud computing to strictly follow the follow certain standards. Then requirements to retain control, certification requirements not met by the provider, geographical limitations may, for example, EU data privacy policies. New locations may trigger new laws and regulations. Countermeasures, the CSP should evaluate legal issues, require provider compliance with the laws and regulations of that particular area, restrict the geography as needed. Integrating provider and customer security. Threat is disconnected provider and customer security systems, fired employee, they retain access to the cloud, misbehavior in the cloud which not reported to customer. Countermeasures at least integrate identity management along with cloud services. Consistent access control services should be there. Better integrate monitoring and notifications which are sent to the users, and it should be done timely also. How would we, if we harm, what should we do? The asset became widely public and widely distributed. We should analyze this. Then an employee of our cloud provider accessed the asset. Process or function were manipulated by an outsider. The process or function failed to provide expected results. The info or data was unexpectedly changed. The assets were unavailable for a period of time. So these are the few things. If you analyze them, then you can come to know that whether your system has been attacked or not. That is, you are evaluating the assets which you are using. The service contract should address these 13 domains. That is your architectural framework, then governance, enterprise risk management, legal, compliance and audit, information, lifecycle management, portability and interoperability, security, business continuity, disaster recovery, data center operations, incident response issues, application security, encryption and key management, identity and access management, virtualization. Governance, what it says, identify, implement the process controls to maintain effective governance, risk management and compliance. Provider security governance should be assessed for sufficiency, maturity, consistency with your user ITSec process. Legal, it says functional, jurisdictional and contractual. That is functional, which functions and services in the cloud have legal implications for both parties. It should be clarified before. Jurisdictional, which government administer laws, and regulatories impacting services, stakeholder, data assets, contractual, terms and conditions. Legal, that is both parties must understand each other's roles. Provider must save primary, secondary logs data. Where the data is being stored, there should be laws, that is cross-border data flows. If there is happening, then the organization should be aware that where its data is being reside. Plan for an unexpected contract termination and orderly return or secure disposal of assets. You should ensure you retain ownership of your data in its original form. Compliance and audit, hard to maintain with your regulatory requirements, harder to demonstrate to auditors. Right to audit clause, analyze compliance scope, regulatory impact on data security, evidence requirements, they should be met. And it should also be seen that what kind of SAS 70 type 2 or audit compliances the provider is being followed. Portability, interoperability, that is when you have to switch the cloud providers, then what are the facilities being provided by the currently used CSP. Contract price increase, is there any contract price increase or not whenever the contract got expired. Provider bankruptcy, provider service shutdown, decrease in service quality, business dispute, all these parameters should be discussed beforehand with the CSP. Security, from security point of view, centralization of data, that is greater insider threat from within the provider. Require on-site inspections of provider facilities, that is whether they are having proper disaster recovery planted in their organization, business continuity factors, all these things. Incident response, that is cloud apps aren't always designed with data integrity or security in mind in general. So provider keep app, firewall, IDS logs, all these things has been deployed by the provider or not. Provider delivers snapshots of your virtual environment if something go awry at your end. So whether the provider is providing the support with the help of providing you snapshots when of that time when your system got crashed, so that you can analyze the situation, that why such kind of discrepancy happen in your system. Then sensitive data must be encrypted for data breach logs. Application security, different trust boundaries for IaaS, PaaS, provider web application security is there or not, secure inter-host communication channel is there or not. Then virtualization, that is what type of virtualization is used by the provider, whether bare metal or it is host based. Then what third party security technology augments the virtual OS, that is whether the user is using any other kind of security technology which is provided by the third party to help and secure the virtual environment, which controls protects the admin interfaces exposed to users. Then what are the possible solutions? Minimize lack of trust, and how it can be done? It can be done through policy language, certifications, etc. Minimize loss of control. It can be done with the help of timely monitoring the systems, utilizing different clouds, that is if you can use the services of different cloud vendors, then it is the best option. Then access control management, how your credential is being managed. Then identity management system. Minimize the multi-tenancy. Loss of control, that is possible solutions. Again, the loss of control, take back the control. Data and apps may still need to be on the cloud, but can they be managed in some way by the consumer? This thing need to be analyzed by the customer. Then lack of trust, that is increase the trust mechanism, how it can be done, technology, policy, regulations, contracts, etc. Multi-tenancy, it could be avoided with the help of private cloud and taking a strong separation step. This is all about security over the cloud. Thank you.